Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and joining me today, she's back on the podcast. Susie Moore. Excited to have Susie here. I'm in. If you're like, what in the world? There's no professional mic. There's no backdrop that I'm used to. I was telling Susie before we got started. Today is the day that I move out of the place that I'm renting and into my first home.
We
got a lot of
day.
things and a lot of things in progress, but that just means that hopefully the sound will be good and everything will be good today. But I'll introduce Susie and then we're going to dive straight in. So Susie Moore, she's the author of a book called Stop Checking Your Likes, also of her brand new book called Let It Be Easy. She's a former Silicon Valley executive turned celebrity life coach. You may have seen her on the Today Show, Good Morning America, Dr. Oz, Oprah, Business Insider. Oh my gosh, all of the places. She's born in England. She lives in Miami. She's been on the podcast before, back at episode 82. So this was in December of 2020. If you want to learn how to use guest posting in media to sell thousands of copies of your book, go back, check out that episode again. That's episode 82. This was a masterclass in using PR and specifically guest posting as well to sell books. The world's longest intro just got longer. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple of things. I want to talk about what she learned with her most recent book launch. And then also, if we have time, I want to go into a little case study on PR and publicity at scale. I'm going to use self-publishing school as a case study. I think it'll be interesting. Who knows? Yeah. Susie, great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Chandler. What a pleasure to speak with you again. Thanks for having me back.
You know, the accent mixed with just amazing, like actionable tips. It's always makes for fun and insightful interviews. So I want to start with you. You've got this new book, Let It Be Easy.
Yes.
And for those who are watching the YouTube version of this, can see the sign right behind you, Let It Be Easy. Why did you write and launch the most recent book?
Oh my gosh, because I'm obsessed with us loving ourselves enough to let our lives be easier. And high achieving women especially love to overcomplicate. We expect life to be hard. We expect business to be hard. We expect all facets of our life to, require our sweat before we can enjoy anything. And that is simply not the truth. I think that this is the era that we've been waiting for. I was having this conversation with someone recently, we think about all the words we use to describe women who are powerful, right? Like strong, fearless, badass, fierce, all these amazing words. And yes, and I'm lucky enough to know so many of those lovely women. But what about the relaxed woman? Like, what about having all of those things in the mix, being strong, having a great business, if that's what you care about, being an author, and also really enjoying your life, not being anxious, being present, maximizing it. This is what I call regret proofing your life. And letting things be easier is always available.
Love that topic.
But no one teaches us this, Chandler, right? It's just like hustle, gotta do this. Oh, it's going to be hard. Work hard now. And it's not to say don't work and do the things. There are amazing teachers and instructions and so forth. But why can't we enjoy the process and not bring stress to it?
And I had a mentor one time said, business is simple. We make it complicated.
Well, isn't it?
But I think it's because of a lot of what you're saying. It's because we feel like it has to be hard or it has to be complicated or I've got to do a bajillion things because it's kind of this psychological disease of more and of complicated. So you talked about, I talk about in my new book, the kind of like the two-pronged purpose or why behind your book. There's why for the author, there's why for the reader, which I think you just spoke to. And then there's the why for the author. And I think those are both really, really important. So for you as the author, like what was the why behind or the purpose behind this? Was this a business growth thing? Was this not related to the business? Like how did this fit in with your goals and what you're trying to do?
Well, I've always noticed that the reason people like to follow me in business or are attracted to my world, my courses, my products, are because they see how I don't overwork. right? I really, really don't. In fact, I have more free time than probably anybody I know. And a lot of people had questions about, how's that possible? What is it that you're doing? And of course, now I run a, whole program around, running an evergreen business and so forth. But I can tell you that having this book out I just think, given the people what they want, like people have asked me questions about why I don't stress out about things, why criticism doesn't, scare me, why I can allow there to be conflict in my life and still proceed calmly in the right direction for me. And I feel as if, business wise, I'm addressing a lot of questions that naturally come up. And I really want to be known for this. Like I want people to think of ease another way, a different truth, a different way of looking at the world, and for me to be their guide. Like I want that to be me. And I have a podcast, the same name, That'd Be Easy with Susie Moore. And so, yes, it's certainly for the readers, but yeah, absolutely also for me as a teacher and someone who loves to talk and expand more and more on this topic.
Got it. So it's almost like claiming this as part of your brand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, can you think of a better word than ease?
Yeah.
To be associated with. And I just think that too, every time you release a book, there's so much attention. You get all this traction. There's so many exciting things that happen. Doors open, conversations happen. You meet more and more people. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to capture.
Yeah. So let's talk about. So this is book number 3.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a couple other books.
Mm-hmm.
Stop checking your likes, and what if it does work out?
Yeah.
So what did you learn from the first 2 books, and how did you launch this one differently?
Well, the first book I self-published, which was so fantastic, that experience, I think, and I'm leaning towards self-publishing my 4th book. Like that's how I really feel like, well, depending on your publisher and your book deal and so forth, then they're just simply not required. Like what a person can achieve, what it is that you can kind of do, with the right steps and so forth, like following you, Chandler. It's remarkable, and it can be quick, and it can be, dare I say, easy. But the first book is always, nerve-wracking. You never really know what to expect. And I think you find your stride with your second. And then in my experience, I feel like, your 3rd book, and I've spoken to a couple of friends who've written, 3+ books. I think it's the book that you really want to write. Because you kind of, you figured out, you figured out a few things, you've kind of put out content that you just feel is also going to be interesting. But when it comes to, book number 3, I think you just have a level of confidence too. And you're speaking more from your heart. You're speaking more from a place of self-assuredness. And I don't know, I mean, this book is definitely selling the best. It's being translated into Arabic. We're speaking to like a few different markets for different translation. It's really cool. So I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the ride. And I think too, that attracts a lot of success.
And so how did you launch this one differently than the first 2?
Well, I use a lot of the same methods, just coming back to the stuff that worked. I mean, the influencer market has grown a lot since I launched my first book. So my first book, I think, was 2017. And, the influencer age was pretty new then. And so now I send a lot of books to my influencer friends, and I ask them to talk about it. You have to ask for help. You have to ask for help with your book, Chandler. And this time on my actual launch day, because there's still, a lot of COVID restrictions with travel and so forth, I think it was 20 Instagram lives from 10 to 7 p.m. with my friends, with my amazing author, influencer, media personality, friends with audiences. All day I went like nonstop, back to back IG lives. You can go on my IG feed and find them all. And I just created my own incredible launch day, just using my own organic network, asking for help, talking about it, asking people to share, of course, using my email list, of course, relying back on the media, which is my favorite thing, like tapping into such huge audiences, creating a great book bonus, and then not really thinking too much else. Like you just got to create your release date and go for it. Like use what you can, where you are with what you have. Don't be ashamed to ask for anything. Like I feel like book time, Chandler, is the time that everyone should really pull in their favors with anybody. It's like, book coming out, give me a shout out, book coming out. And I feel like that's also what we do for each other as authors, and in the media especially. They love authors. They know that they're credible because they've written the book right on the topic. They know they have a bio. They know that they can often speak. And I just feel like a whole lot opens up every time you create this generous act of writing a book.
Yeah. You talked about influencer marketing. You talked about Instagram lives. You talked about your email list. You talked about publicity and PR. Were those kind of the main things that sold books, or was there anything else that worked really well?
I also did some cool, just Q&As for different businesses in exchange for big book orders.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so that's depending on what your topic is, I think that this is a really fun thing to do. Like if you can talk about, there's actually a book right before we got on, someone asked me at a bank if I could speak about upward mobility and having hard conversations in the workplace. Of course, they reframe them as easier conversations, but that would be for a bulk book order and a fee and a speaker fee. So I think being in the speaker world, making yourself accessible, especially now via Zoom, like the world is so used to Zoom interactions. So if you can have a conversation really in any market, doesn't even have to be in the same country, in exchange for book buys, that also really increases your numbers and gets your book in the hands of lots of different people.
And were those mostly inbound requests, or were you doing outbound offers of, hey, I'll come in and I'll do a Q&A in exchange for a book? Like, how did you generate interest for that? And then what did that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I did the same with my second book. I had a couple of these because people like them, and often it was companies that I forget what they're called, but often they recruit more and more people and they sell skincare.
Oh yeah, like MLM or
yeah.
Yep.
So they have such great organic networks, and they love authors, they love speakers, they love books, and often their leads like to purchase books for their team that are uplifting, inspiring. So it was a bit of a mix of both. I reconnected with anyone who I had a relationship with. I said, hey, do you want to come and do a fun Q&A? I'll speak about confidence with you, with your team. I'll speak about social selling. I'll speak about overcoming the fear of rejection. And then if you want to just, buy everyone a book. And then depending on, how you work that out, it's also nice and profitable too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the Instagram live tour, is that something you've done with previous books, or this was the first time with this book?
Yeah, never. And I bought balloons. I got my makeup done. I just went for it. I was like, I was having my own wedding day. It felt like, and I just felt great. Like I had music playing the whole time. And this is how easy it can be. Okay. So if you've got a book coming out, whatever the topic is, right? Anyone can do this. So I think it was 20 friends. So it was 20 interviews back to back. So I said 20 to 25 minutes. So I had 5 minutes padding throughout the day, started in the morning, ended when it was dark. And this is all I said. I just, spoke a bit about, how we had a bit of a fun intro chat, right? And then I'd say, what are 2 things that you do to make your life easier? And people were, so the pressure wasn't on me to create, to fill the time. It was like a hello, excited moment. And then I'd ask, like Amy Purdy, what are 2 things you do to make your life easier? Then my friend Sherry Salata, who is the executive producer of the OWN Network, what do you do? And people went from like meditation to organizing their pantry to having really strict schedules for their kids to, switching off email after 5 p.m. Like, it was such value for everyone paying attention. And I think people also when you go live with someone, it goes live on their feed too, so all sorts of new audiences I was just like attracting in. And it was an all-day party. It required a lot of energy, but hey, like, isn't that what a book launch is? Like, that's, and I had so much champagne, like after that, like, don't you worry. By the last 3 hours, like, pop it open, honey. Like, it was a really fun day. It got a lot of attention. It sold a lot of, my book ranking that day on Amazon was like 1,000. So,
wow.
Yeah, which was, I thought, amazing. And it's been consistently great. So like, I feel like that big push, and then of course offering a bonus, and then having just a very simple book sales page. It was letitbeeasybook.com, having a place where people could go, and then you get the email capture, and then you can create a funnel from there if you wish. Why not go all out? It's your book.
Yeah, for sure. What was like, how did you segue from those interviews to book sales? Did you have special bonuses or anything, or like what was the main call to action from that?
Yeah, I would say, so every single time I'd say, at the end of every single interview, I'd say, remember, like, let it be easy, on sale today. And until midnight, you get this special bonus. Until midnight, I'd say it and you can see it again, like on my feed at Susie.Moore. If you just slide back to November 4th was a release date, you'll see that every single interview. I'm saying, remember, bonus ends tonight, bonus ends tonight, bonus ends tonight. And let me tell you, people are scared to ask, right? They're scared to ask for a favor. They're scared to annoy people. They think, oh, no one's going to want to talk about my book. You don't know that. And someone's very able to say no. Some people did say no. And I also fully love and respect that. But there are a lot of people who want to help. And I always say that if you're not asking for help, you're already living your worst case scenario because no one's helping you. Right. And people want to collaborate, and it's really up to us. Like as authors, we sometimes think the creative process ends once we write the end, right? Or once we hand in the manuscript or whatever, but that's not it. Like that's half of it.
For sure.
Like that's half of it.
And I love how you use that creativity in the marketing of the book.
Oh,
awesome.
I think it's amazing when you success orbits happiness. Like when you're happy, when you're energized, when you can transfer your enthusiasm about your book to people, they want it. Like they want your book, but you got to tell us why. You got to tell us why. There are a lot of books. And so just go tell us why you and why now.
Yeah, it's awesome. So let's, a couple questions, final questions on the book, and then I want to talk some publicity stuff. So
yes.
I was looking right before this, you're almost at 200 reviews and it's been 4 to 5 months. So a ton of reviews. How'd you do it? Anything special that worked?
So I actually need to learn more from you about this, Chandler. You have a lot of reviews. So I need to read your book on this. But I offered a bonus. I haven't really pushed it too hard, but I said, if you if you write me a review, you'll have access to one of my digital products. So you just simply have to show your submission, email someone on my team, jamie@susie-moore.com, and then you get access to one of my courses. Cool. So that's easy. It's already an existing digital asset and people love the course and I want them to take it. And for a limited time, I was giving that. But yeah, I also need to learn because I want thousands of reviews, right? We all do. So yeah.
Hey, check out, I know I sent you a copy of the new book, right?
Yes, I have it. Yes.
All right, cool. So check out, there's a chapter in that. I want to say it's chapter 17 or something like that. There's a chapter on how to get more reviews. One little thing, the review sweeper, if you just set that up, it's an automated email sequence for anyone that downloads anything related to the book. And it just says, hey, this is Susie. That's the first email. It looks like, you downloaded the book a few weeks ago. I'm just curious how you like it so far. Reply to this email and let me know. And so that's the first one. It's kind of like a 2-step in. So they'll reply, and then assuming that it's positive, you have someone on your team can say, hey, thank you so much. Would you mind copying and pasting that into a review right here? So that's the first thing. And that's the review sweeper because it just keeps sweeping in reviews. So, I mean, that'll help exponentially. There's a couple other things that I mentioned in that chapter. But one other thing that I did with my newest book is just a short link to make it super easy so that anytime you're out in the wild or your team's out in the wild and they see positive feedback about the book, you can just say, hey, would you mind copying and pasting that into a review here? But also so that it makes it easy on stuff like podcasts like this or wherever else, a short link for people to go to. So for me, it's, the book's called Published. So it's publishedbook.com/review. Right?
Fantastic.
Whatever the book URL is, .com/review. Simple way. And then I put that in the book itself. So it's the last thing they see at the end of the book is like, hey, leave a review if you like this. But also makes it easier to promote on Let It Be Easy. This is like getting in the trenches on a couple of these things, but even something so simple as like, if you want to move more audiobooks, I did something similar where you got publishedbook.com/audible. And so you could do that on your Let It Be Easy podcast, right? Is you're promoting the Let It Be Easy book. Podcast listeners probably would also prefer the audiobook. And so the /audible, people can go there. They can download the audiobook for free, either by doing a trial of Audible or by taking a credit. And then there's the bounty program as well. So every time someone claims a free audiobook, and if they stick for Audible, Audible gives you like $75, I think it is. For every person that does that. So anyways, just a couple of things I thought I'd share with.
I love it. Learning in the moment. Yes. Thank you, Chandler.
Hey, so let's switch gears a little bit. I mentioned, you and I talked about on last episode, last time you were on the podcast, that there's a PR masterclass. I mean, guys, if you haven't listen to episode 82, go back and check it out if you want to learn how to guest post and use publicity to sell more books. I thought it'd be fun this time to do a little bit of a case study. This is an active problem that I'm trying to solve at self-publishing school. Okay. And so I'm looking to get more PR and publicity. It's organically has happened over the years, but it's not something that we've really like made a concerted effort at. And then more speaking gigs, which in my mind, those two are pretty related. And my hypothesis is, I know they're different, but the process of getting them is related, right? So I call this kind of like author appearances, right? It's when you go somewhere, whether it's PR, whether it's publicity, whether it's a speaking gig, whatever, you're on a virtual or in-person stage selling your book, right? So my hypothesis is, all right, let's hire someone in-house to do this. We've got Pedro on the team who's amazing, leads all of our strategic partnerships. I know you've talked to him before. So he's really good at that. And then I'm thinking, all right, let's plug someone in here, do a lot of publicity stuff and speaking stuff. That's the hypothesis. Is that the right hypothesis? Is it the wrong hypothesis? And then based on that, how would you hire someone to like internally run this and oversee this?
Yes. Okay. Great question. So yes, author appearances, like media feature. So like a TV interview or to be interviewed by like Entrepreneur Inc., something like that, versus like, a paid speaking opportunity on stage. I do consider them different. And also the speaking appearances, depending if you're just speaking in exchange for books or you're speaking for free, that's also different to having a pretty nice speaker fee. And then also there just being some type of book exchange, but I love all three, right? Throw everything at it, right? Throw everything at your success all the time. So when it comes to the media is so much simpler to understand than the average person thinks, right? And publicity, if you were to hire a publicity firm or a publicist, the only couple who I know and trust, they're like $20,000 a month minimum retainer, minimum 6 months, right? So it's a significant investment and that's not for everybody. And also not everyone wants to work in that way. But what a publicist does essentially is you pay for their connections, right? You pay for the shortcuts. And when people go to hire publicists now, often they'll ask me who, or, what's the best approach? I always say you need to speak to some of their existing clients first. And a good publicist will be really happy to say, oh yeah, speak to, Tina or John, whoever it is. And you want to ask really hard questions. You want to say, who do you know at ABC? Who do you know at CBS? Who do you know at and then you can name the networks and then the specific shows. If you're like, who do you know on the Drew Barrymore show? Who do you know on the Kelly Clarkson show? Who do you know, for different markets. So you want to ask questions and then share what your expectations are. So if you wanted to go that route of hiring a publicist, because some of them now I see them like $5,000 a month, etc., and like they're more reasonably priced, but often you're hiring people who are new and they don't have the connections, and that's really what you're paying for. Otherwise, you can do this all yourself with scripts, and it will take you the same amount of time as a new person. Because they don't have the connections, which is really the fast track that you want with a PR firm.
Can I jump? I wholeheartedly believe that, right? And so it sounds like what you're saying is either go high end and it's like, all right, this is someone who's really good. You're definitely going to pay for it, but like you're taking the fast track, or do it yourself. And I know you have a program for this. I think at least 1 or 2 people on my team have went through it. I recommend it. Like it's solid. So is that kind of your take is like, all right, either go high end, pay legit money for this, or like do it yourself? Because if they're a middle of the road or lower end publicist, you're probably going to be more effective than that. And you're going to care about it more, work harder, that sort of thing.
Yes, I speak from experience. A lot of people come to me, they're having quite an expensive, disappointing PR experience. And they're like, can we hire you? And I'm like, I don't do that. But even better, I can just teach you how to do it. Give it to your assistant or give it to someone, like you said, on your team who can learn this. So if you wanted to do it yourself, right? And just say you're a busy business owner doing lots of things. And so you don't want to be the one out there pitching. This is what I'd recommend. Have a very competent, bright person who knows how to write emails that are sweet, right? So not like, hi, herewith is the attached proposal from, and some people just write like that. My husband writes like that. I would never let him pitch for me, right? He's brilliant, but he's not a sweet email writer, right? But you want someone who's going to be really friendly, really warm, really, conscious of how they're coming across over email. And all you need to do essentially is brainstorm with them, depending on how often you want PR. And hey, look, I want it all the time, even if I'm not launching anything. I just want to be out there consistently. Have 30 to 60 minutes a week set aside with this person to brainstorm ideas, right? Because someone who's going to come up with the ideas, like, why Chandler? Why you? Why now? Where do you want to be? Like, what can we say about you? Like, is there something coming up? Is there like a National Author Day? Is there, book reading day? Is there back to school? Like, what's your opinion? What is it you have to, so you want to look at maybe even a big calendar that can help give you ideas. And these are all available online anywhere, like international calendars for different, holidays. And then you just want to think like, or maybe something's coming up, or there's been a story or something that's interesting that you want to share about your history. And you can just think that would just be an opinion piece, right? Or that would be a personal account of something. And so you would just set time aside with this person, brainstorm ideas, look at the media, have a little spook around some of your favorite few sites, see what type of content, content's coming up, and see what you can say, like see how you could contribute to a conversation. And then that person, equipped with the right pitch scripts, goes out and does it as you. So not as Chandler's assistant, but as Chandler from your email address. And this is because the media love hearing from the talent firsthand. Yeah, they love hearing, secondhand too. They use that with publicists, but there's something quite like hearing from the talent, AKA you, directly.
Got it.
So I have a lot of people who've taken my programs and they will just have their assistant do it. But I always say, do it as you, and make, we want it to sound really personable, really custom, like a bespoke pitch to that publication. But that's simple. Like the how is simple, right? It's just the like setting aside time, committing, coming up with a kind of creative ideas. And then it's just success is volume. This is my mantra. Success is volume. You send out 10 pitches a week, you'll get media.
No doubt. So, and we're so aligned on this. So here's my hypothesis. I'm thinking, all right, full-time in-house, like I'm willing to pay someone. Great. What would you look for? Like, what traits would you look for in this person, and where would you recruit from to find someone who could come in and do this at a high level?
I would use someone existing on the team, and I would say that this would be maybe one day of their week.
And why? And why that versus saying, hey,
it's not a full-time
we've got
job.
The budget. I want to hire it. I'm willing to go full time. Why would you say go someone on the team already in-house?
I don't think it's a full-time job. If I'm still doing it myself at this stage in my business, making multiple millions, like, and I do this myself and it doesn't take long. Like a bright person who's consistent with their reach out, like this could be part of their job. Or if you wanted to hire someone for this, I would give them probably additional responsibilities, like maybe influence the reach out. And
interesting.
I would think about influencer reach out, perhaps paid speaking opportunities, getting you set up with speaker bureaus could be something. Totally. Negotiating as your agent on behalf of any paid deals. But I would just look for someone who just loves people, who's creative, who's really consistent, because, a lot of this too is following up, right? Just checking in, following up, and someone who just loves the media, consuming content. Because if someone, it's like, you don't want to hire a social media manager who doesn't have a social media account. Right. Like you want someone who's like, who knows about the new features, because new features drop every day,
right?
And so you want someone who's like, who just loves to consume content, and who maybe has their own blog, like maybe even can create some of the content with you if it's going to be, just say someone's going to need some quotes that, what's Chandler's opinion on this or that, they can write them for you. Nice. So I'd look for someone who's naturally creative, loves people, is consistent, and has an enthusiasm for this stuff. But if I was to hire a person like this full time, just knowing how little time it actually takes to get this done, I would give them a lot of additional fun responsibilities too.
Got it. So you would do something like, okay, if I'm going to go full time, all right, you've got PR, and that's maybe 10 to 20 hours of your week, and then you've got booking speaking gigs for me and the team. That's maybe the other 10 or 20 hours of your week. And then maybe even sounds like tangentially related is like influencer campaigns and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm looking for maybe seeking out different collaborations. I mean, there's a whole lot of, if you've got the resources and like a dedicated person to growth, I would just call it visibility, like a
Mhm.
visibility lead, then there's a lot of ways that that can happen. And I mean, it's such a fun job. Like for the right
Yeah.
person, it's such a fun job. And creatively speaking, yeah, I mean, a lot of it too could just be research. So like if you look at your own competitive landscape, say you have like 20 people who you may say are similar to you, I would
Mhm.
also just have them researching them and seeing what they're doing, seeing what's
Yeah.
working, seeing where they're showing up, because that
Mm.
takes a bit of time too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think we're speaking to two people right now. I think we're speaking to business owners who are like, hey, I want to do this too. I want to hire someone in-house, send them through Susie's training.
Yep.
And I think we're probably also speaking to folks who are saying, hey, I'm not at that point, but good news. What Susie's saying, which I wholeheartedly believe in, and that this is really not a full-time job unless you were, and so if you're thinking, hey, I don't have time to do this, and well, hey, you can, I mean, my path early on in business was I'm going to set aside 1 hour per week. And that led to newspaper articles on local TV, like proclamation from the local mayor, like all of these things. And that was 1 hour per week over 8 to 12 weeks. And so we're very aligned on this. Susie,
Yeah.
if you were me, where would you go to recruit this person? Because I've heard you say, all right, this is someone who is
I know
they
exactly
love
where I would go.
people, they're creative, they're consistent, they love
Yes.
media. So you
Yes.
know exactly where would that be?
I know exactly where I would go. Well, I mean, the interesting news is the publishing world has shifted so much, right? So when you think about even just like how the magazine industry is, I mean, there's only really like one or two leads in each genre now. I mean, so many publications don't exist anymore. And then of course there's a lot of online growth, but then with the rise of influencers and blogs, a lot of people who've got these amazing skills don't have jobs right now, right? Or are looking for work, right? Or they used to be an editor, used to be a features writer, used to maybe be a contributor somewhere, and that's kind of no longer the case. The world's always in a changing, shifting cycle. There's a lot of talent right now. In fact, a lot of people who coach for me in my accelerator, they're my editors. They're the people who used to accept my pitches and give me red lines and tell me what was good and what wasn't good. Like, and they are like the front line. They're the people. If they're the people fielding pitches and accepting them or rejecting them, they know exactly what editors want, and they speak editor language. They know how to submit a pitch. They know how to follow up. If you want them to create your content, they can also do that. And I can tell you, my editor and producer friends are the brightest people that I know. They're so in tune, and they know what makes, because just because something's a good story doesn't mean it's conveyed as a good story. Like you can take an average story and make it sound really interesting, like with the right angle, right? But editors and producers, people who just have that storytelling skill, they can take, maybe even a meeting where you're tired one week, and they'll come up with all the ideas for you.
Oh, interesting.
So
So
yeah, so
you would
even the
go,
editors on my team who coach my people, because you get one-on-ones in my program, I hire them too. I actually had one today. I was like, I want to promote my podcast more on the media. Can you come up with a couple of Let It Be Easy angles for me?
so you would hire editors and producers. That would be
Yes.
your main
Yes.
kind of, you wouldn't
Yes.
hire publicists or people that work for PR agencies or anything like that. You would go editors or producers over that.
Personally, 100%. Yes. And
Interesting.
think about it, the publicists are pitching those people,
Yeah.
right? So you just go straight to the people.
But do you feel like that those people, because I love your criteria, right? You said consistent, creative, loves people. Like I feel like this person has to have an extroversion and a tenacity that is just daily ringing the bell and doing reach outs, doing pitches, doing that sort of thing. So I almost in some ways feel like if you're on the other end of that spectrum, like if I'm an editor or producer, I'm used to that coming to me. So how do you screen for that of like, okay, this is someone who has a good eye for what a good pitch looks like, but also has a high motor and is gonna, like, how do you screen for that or look for that?
Sometimes I think, okay, it's interesting because one of the objections, I don't get it so much anymore, but a lot of people used to say to me like, I want to make more of an impact. I want people to know about, what it is, my product or service, but I'm not an extrovert and I don't want to be in the media. And I'm like, and this is going to relate directly, don't worry.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why would you have to be an extrovert? I'm like, at home, kicking it on my laptop all the time, creating all of this. And if I do a segment, it's 7 minutes. It's nothing. And then the editors who'd be doing this for you, just say you hired a freelance editor to help you with this, they're doing the same thing. They're not going to parties, saying, oh, Chandler's the best, and here's his business card, and let me, that's not what they're doing. They're just in their email, like you, like consuming content, writing emails, consuming content, writing emails, following up. It's an introvert's dream. So yeah, like that's, and truly so many friends who I've had now who've just gone full-time freelance, like they're available, like they're available. They love coming up with ideas. They're paid by the hour and they love their work, and they have such a finger on the pulse. Because if I'm working with someone, just say, one of my coaches, and she just is creating content for Cosmo, and then she's creating content for Refinery, and then she's creating content for Esquire, and then for The Guardian, like she knows so much more than I do. And that's really what you're paying for too.
That's interesting.
Yeah, to be in it, to have someone in the world of it, you take them out, help me, and then they go back in and do it for you. It's awesome.
That's amazing. What, gosh, I could ask a bajillion more questions, but we'll leave this here. This has been so helpful, Susie, and on both sides, on seeing what you're doing and what you've done with your most recent book, and then I think hopefully providing a little bit of a masterclass for bringing on help to get publicity, and maybe internal or going through the process and your program and learning that themselves. So Susie, where can people go to find out more about you, your newest book, Let It Be Easy, and your publicity training?
Yes. So the best, a free training I have too, which encapsulates how you then, take your media leads and really maximize those and then run ads to media features. That's also an incredible tool most people don't use. You can head to theevergreenexpert.com because this is always on. And I'd recommend checking out my new podcast, Let It Be Easy with Susie Moore.
Hey, and rumor has it, I might be a guest on that podcast sometime soon. So tune in, guys. Awesome. Susie, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chandler. Bye-bye.